Look around this park and it'll look like any other one you've seen. It has trees, water, and walking trails, but at one point this was home to the most densely populated place in human history, the Kowloon Walled City. Located in northern Hong Kong, the Kowloon Walled City existed until 1994. At its peak, it had a population density of over 3 million people per square kilometer. It had no real government, police, or laws for most of the 20th century. So, how did this happen? To understand, we need to look at history. When the British won the Opium War against the Qing dynasty in China, it set off a chain of events that led to Hong Kong being a colony of Great Britain. This worried the Qing government, which controlled China at the time. After all, their power was weakening, both in their own country and on the world stage. Losing to Britain was bad news. So, as the British expanded Hong Kong, the Qing worked out a deal where they would keep a small fort, just to keep an eye on the British. This was the Kowloon Walled City. Unfortunately, while the Qing had their eyes on Britain, they did not keep their eyes on their own country and they were overthrown. The Qing was no more and they were replaced by the Republic of China. So that meant the Kowloon Walled City belonged to the Republic of China, right? Well, maybe. This is where everything starts becoming cloudy. The British felt that they now owned Kowloon Walled City because the original deal was with the Qing, but the Qing no longer existed. Would the deal pass over to the Republic of China instead? The Kowloon Walled City became a piece of land in limbo. It was technically owned by the Chinese, but which Chinese? And technically located in Britain, but was it? Nobody was really sure who had legal control. As if that wasn't enough, the Republic of China started having problems too. As the Chinese Civil War started, all hell broke loose for the Kowloon Walled City. The Republic of China was driven to exile, and the People's Republic of China took over most of the country. Wars create refugees, and plenty of them fled to Hong Kong. The British didn't want to deal with the problem, and returning to China was not an option. The refugees were people in limbo, so naturally they settled in a place that was also in limbo, the Kowloon Walled City. As more and more people moved in, more and more structures were built. However, since no government seemed to own the land, nobody followed any legal regulations or building codes. Over 300 buildings were eventually constructed, many of them without basic safety features like foundations. They were built so closely that many simply busted holes through the walls to connect to neighboring structures. Because many of them lacked proper foundations, some buildings only stood because they leaned against the next one over. It was so packed that every resident had an average of 40 square feet of living space. Since there was no real government, the Kowloon Walled City basically had no laws that could be enforced. The police would not usually go in, so it became a hub for unlicensed medical facilities, drug dealers, triads, and prostitution rings. While this sounds like a total nightmare, the surprising thing is that the crime rate was not as high as you'd expect compared to the rest of Hong Kong. That's because there was still a community where people lived, worked, shopped, and went to school. They created basic protocols to deal with dangers such as fires and lived in a state of unsanctioned cooperation. It was an experiment in anarchy and it worked up to a point. As times changed, the British government made two major decisions. First, they officially recognized the People's Republic of China as the official government of China. Secondly, they decided to return the entire colony of Hong Kong to China in 1997. These two choices would eventually lead to the end of the Kowloon Walled City. The Kowloon Walled City was no longer going to be a legally ambiguous piece of land. No matter what, by 1997, it was going to become part of the People's Republic of China, along with the rest of Hong Kong. With this in mind, both Britain and China agreed on one more thing. They wanted the Kowloon walled city dismantled and demolished. Britain had long seen it as an eyesore, and China didn't want to deal with it themselves. So, in over the span of a year, the Hong Kong government relocated and compensated the residents of the Kowloon walled city. It took another year to demolish all the structures. Today, the site's home to the Kowloon Walled City Park. The only remains of its past are a few stone signs of the fort that once stood there, a few historical structures that survived all these years of turmoil, and a copper model and diagram of what was once the most densely populated place in recorded history. If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button below and don't forget to subscribe for more nerd facts. In the description is a link to our Patreon where you can help us make more videos just like these. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time for more nerd facts.